And that is why, Squib and Single Shot, that I am a fountain of useless knowledge. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Caliber Corner Season 5, episode number 242. You know, next week is episode number 243. 243. I wonder what we're going to talk about next week. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, and a small apology that I want to make to another viewer from a couple days ago. But today we're going to talk about gun trust. We're going to talk about passing on the tools of freedom to our children, our next of kin, and our friends and family. Now, we're going to show you some resources, and I think I might have put them in the description box for the podcast for today. We're not promoting or pushing any of these websites. These are just what pop up in a Google search, so this is what people find. So we're not endorsed by any of these people, nor are Single Shot, Squibboat, or myself legal advisors or attorneys. We could be wrong. Now, 2 years ago, we did a really good trust podcast. It's episode 138, if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of talked about setting up a trust as like almost like having a corporation and how it's going to work. While I gave a really kind of complicated description of the trust and all the different parts, I found a much simpler definition this time around to go through it. Now, the one answer I can't give you right away, although I think the answer is going to be no, is if you have a trust, could an assault weapons ban stop your next of kin from inheriting your firearms if they're on the trust? I would say no, just initially, because my belief is that everybody that's a trustee is a co-property owner. So they are owners just like you. And there are things you have to go through for those trustees to basically be the owner of specifically that firearm or that NFA item also. There's steps you have to go through, and this stuff all goes through the government. It's all established by the government. It falls under state law, and the ATF in the end approves the trust. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit, the cost and what you need to know and so on. But just everything we're telling you here, this is just to try to guide you in the right direction to find some information. In fact, there's a website we're going to show you that does $49 gun trust that I'm going to try just to see what happens. They claim that out of the so many thousand that they had filed last year, that none of them got denied. So we'll see. We'll see what that's all about when we get there. But before we do so, we've got an esteemed, wide awake panel with us this morning. So joining us from somewhere in the Midwest, we've got Single Shot. Single Shot, how's your morning going today? You doing good?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad now. I'm starting to wake up myself, getting some coffee and some sustenance to put in my belly here. So I'm waking up here, sitting here in Holland, Michigan, presently waiting to get my trailer into the shop here at the truck stop to get an air chamber replaced on the rear, one of the rear brake sets.
Oh, gotcha. Cool. So you're having a good road trip. Otherwise, weather's been good for you, no problems.
Oh yeah. It's been nice. It's been real nice. Not as hot as it was the last time on the big trip out west, but
yeah, no, we're finally getting a breakout here in Nebraska. I got a jacket on this morning. It was 62 degrees this morning when I took the dog out. It was absolutely beautiful. Same yesterday too, and I think we're maxing out like at 85. But even in the shade with the breeze, it's actually just perfect. That's kind of weather I like for Nebraska in the summertime. That 100-degree stuff with a high humidity, it's just that we don't do well with that because we don't usually get that for more than a week or two. But man, it lasted this summer. Holy crap! And it's supposed to heat up again too. But anyway, Nebraskans, that's all we do is talk about the weather. So that's that and football, you know. So, but anyway, Single Shot, good to have you with us. Your channel. Let's talk about your channel real quick. What do you have to offer? What can people find on YouTube and also on Rumble? What are the channels called?
On YouTube, it's Single Shot.
Single space shot, exclamation point, if you guys are looking for it.
And on Rumble, it's Daywolf.
Okay.
And on Instagram, I am on Instagram now. It is Scarred Warrior.
1956,
right?
That's right. You just officially dated yourself, so just for the record. So I'm not saying you're old,
about that.
but I do follow you on Instagram, so I'm looking forward to your content. So you better start producing. So
I gotta get some stuff out of there.
Cool.
I'm still having a little trouble with getting stuff posted on Rumble. I'll do up a video, and then for some reason my brain goes blank and I forget how to upload the thing.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. When I do like a little 5 to 8 minute video at the range, that takes hours. And when I get done, I mean, I know you're gonna, first world problems. I'm tired, man. My brain's tired from hauling stuff out there and coming back, editing the video, posting it, you know, I mean, trying to balance everything else in the world. It's just like, it's exhausting, especially when you have, a job on the side too that you do, but still, Yeah.
And driving for 10, 12, 14 hours on duty time during the course of the day. And it's turn around to get to that point. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to bed.
No, I hear you, man. I don't know how you guys do it, but I'm glad you do. So, all right. Well, appreciate you coming back. Yeah. All right. Also joining us, we didn't scare him away from the Thursday night episode, is the American Hillbilly Up. Hillbilly, how's your morning going? You doing good?
Hey, buddy. Doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great. We're doing awesome. We just, had a little coffee chat before we started, and we're going to talk about wills and gun trusts and all that fun stuff, and maybe why a person should have a plan. So now, are you a registered attorney or lawyer at all, just in the nature of full disclosure?
No.
Okay. So any advice we're giving people is just strictly what Google's telling us. We're just getting, that's our disclaimer. So nobody can go back and say, well, Travis Field Hillbilly Up said that my kid can have my suppressor, So yeah. So tell us about your channel a little bit. What do you have to offer people? What's going on in your world, man?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just, the everyday grind, It's just working and, making videos when we can. And so
I'm always going to, you're new here and you might not know this, but I always ask people, so what's coming up on the channel? Can you give us a little tease about what you got in mind, or any ideas that you might have, or what are you thinking?
Well, this gun trust, you're talking about the gun trust topic today and
stuff?
No,
just your channel in general. You got anything fun coming up on the channel? Anything you're going to test out, or any ideas, or yeah?
Oh man, no, I mean, we just try to make some fun videos, that's entertaining, but got some hopefully a little helpful information right behind it. It's not like a full gun review or nothing like that. It's just kind of my opinions on the gun or whatever.
Just somebody enjoying his freedom. That's all.
You betcha.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, I'm glad you're back, and if you need to step away to get yourself a coffee refill, you just go ahead and do so. This is our Saturday morning crew, so it's usually just a pretty small panel that joins us because everybody else is sleeping in, but it's all good. Glad to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here, buddy. Thank you.
If you want, I can make you a moderator here at some point so you can post your links to your channel and stuff. And usually Kingpin will get your link posted so other people can go check out your channel. So if you just type in Hillbilly Space Up, it's probably going to pop up right away if you guys are looking for the channel. So good stuff, man. All right, cool. And last but certainly not the least, we've got Squibload joining in. Squibby, how's your morning going? Are you good?
Yeah, I got a few things going on here and there, but I listened to the show from 2 years ago, and just like 2 years ago, I'm having some Arbuckles Mexicali. So I thought I would
never change.
Stick with some tradition.
Change. Yep.
And I thought that the show had some legalese. You really didn't overdo it, but it was legalese. It wasn't bad at all. I think you tried to kind of turn it to plain English, but it was a little bit. I'm there listening going, if I hadn't dealt with anything legal, had to deal with attorneys or other things, some of this stuff might not make a whole lot of sense. But I thought you did a really good job of trying to convert it to plain English. So it's kind of interesting to talk about this again. I think it's good sometimes when we revisit stuff, and maybe we'll find out that somebody highly opinionated like myself might have changed my mind because I have a different perspective, or something's changed in those 2 years and now I look at it differently or something. I'm not necessarily saying with this, but when we revisit other things. So,
and I try not to go over topics again unless it's viewers are requesting it, or if there's some. And the thing with that trust discussion was not too long prior to that, the Obama, when they had made changes to trusts. One of them was that the certified local law enforcement office no longer had to approve your trust. Where that was the case before Obama, when they made their changes, that was one of the things that they eliminated. And so that was a change that happened. That when we were talking, it's like, well, what's the approval process consist of? Well, maybe a year before we did that podcast, it had to be approved by local law enforcement, and then that part of the law was gone, disappeared. Now there might be a lot of people. So one thing, well, I'll let you continue, Squib, and then I'll talk about kind of why I want to have this discussion. But so you got an awesome channel. You guys make sure you check it out. You're staying busy these days, or what?
Yeah, my work schedule changes day to day, and It looks like I've got a lot of free time because there's a lot of videos out there. What I'll do is I'll record a bunch, and then I'll try to edit them in batches, and I just try to keep everything going. I've got stuff from last year that I still haven't edited. I've been trying to play around with the shorts. I really don't care for shorts. I don't like watching them. I don't like making them. It's the new thing. They want us, if you don't make shorts, we're not going to push your channel.
I probably should do more just to kind of get it out there. But
I'm doing them. I'm doing them partly just to satisfy the YouTube gods, but also just to give it a try because I don't particularly like watching them. At work, I listen to a lot of videos. Like I could listen to replays of Caliber Corner at work, and it's not a problem. I don't necessarily have to see. Even when you screen share, there's enough of the description I don't have to see. So shorts, just the layout, it goes to the next one, and it's not necessarily in that channel, right? I don't want to listen to these, and shorts really require a lot more visual. Plus, for me so far, just messing with them, they've already been a pain. For example, you can only record them in portrait, not landscape. I had to go back and re-edit 2 videos. Some of the videos I made that I never intended to be shorts, YouTube made shorts.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
So I'm kind of playing around with that and doing some other stuff. Today, I'll probably shoot 3 or 4 videos. I'll probably edit more than I shoot, but it takes a lot of time to do these, and mine have such low production value. You'd think you threw that together in 5 minutes. It's like, no, I actually spent an hour on this or 2 hours. Or I was talking with my director this morning about the prep time, all the notes. I've got all these projects downstairs that I want to make videos on. Nothing spectacular. It's most of it nobody really wants to watch, but I might spend hours writing notes or researching this or doing that or trying this out, or I maybe do a rehearsal shoot that might be, if it's good enough, that's what I'll print. But if I do a rehearsal and find out, well, this doesn't fit and that doesn't. So some of this stuff really takes time. And with my work schedule being the way it is, it's kind of difficult to do. But I'm still having fun with it. I've had a lot of times where I've been frustrated, and I still do get frustrated, mostly with myself or just with all these people making noise. Out there, it's like it's kind of hard to film some stuff because of just the background noise. But I'm having fun with it though. I try not to get as frustrated as I used to, and just enjoying myself. And I know that most of the videos I do aren't stuff that people want to watch. Don't feel compelled to watch it. Don't watch it. Don't comment on it. Don't like it. Don't.
The problem is that your channel, your Squiblo channel, is the box of chocolates on YouTube. Yes. You never know what you're going to get. One day you do a mac and cheese review, and the next day you do a Hammer warranty claim review. Yes. It's the best variety television out there, Squib. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're making your own monster, whether you like it or not.
Probably that, and just my attitude problem, which is that comes with it. So I've been doing some experiments lately just to see who's watching, if they're watching for the entire duration, and if they're really interested in the things I'm doing. And the information I'm getting back says no. So I'm just going to keep making them. If people don't want to watch them, I don't care. That's fine. But I'd rather somebody watch because they want to watch it than watch it like a pity view or something like that. So, but that's not the part that really frustrates me. The part that frustrates me is when I flub my lines or crap like that. I did have a question though about the poll. All right. So it says, have you made plans to pass your firearms onto your next of kin, family, or friends? For the yes or no answer, do you mean, have you actually consulted a lawyer? Do you actually have a will or a trust? Or
a little conversation on the side with your family?
Yeah. Do you mean, are you considering it? Would you do it? Or do you mean, have you legally, formally done it?
It could be anything. And we were going to kind of talk about the differences between a verbal agreement, something written on a piece of paper, a will, a trust. And the reason why is that the bulk of the people said no. It's like, well, if you haven't, maybe here's why you want to look into a trust. This is why. If you're answering it, you're a gun person. If you say no, you got to think about what's going to happen to you. I try to make those as simple as possible to answer. Like, and it could be with one family member. It could be with half your kids. It could be, maybe you don't have kids. I have no children, but I still have plans on where my firearms are going to go. I have family that are going to inherit my firearms when I'm gone, and I'm going to be putting them in a trust. And what's funny is I didn't make a trust since I said I would 2 years ago, but I found a website that I think it's going to do the job. I really need to get my crap together and get it done. Not that my parents would mind if the family that I told that could take my guns would come in here if something would happen to me and take them. That would be my mom would be fine with that because she knows we've got this verbal agreement. Where it gets sticky is when you have siblings that hate each other, or I might tell my great grandnephew, "Oh, you can have my DDM 4A1 when I'm gone," and then I'm gone, and then my kids are here taking the guns out of the safe, and the grandnephew shows up and wants that rifle, and they say no. That's where it's going to get ugly. That's why you need to have a trust, or you need to have some sort of a written will. But the trusts are better because they follow state laws and stuff. They make everybody on the trust the property owner for that property and the trust. The co-owners, basically. There's a grantor that controls the whole trust and the conditions of it. But when they're gone, the trustees then have access to everything. They have access to it at any time based on your stipulations. So I wanted to just get a general question out there. This is, have you even, because there might be people that said, my kids will come take my guns when I'm gone. You sure? Can they even get in the apartment to get your guns if you're not there? As the owners, the landlords, because in a trust, they have to legally let you in to retrieve your property. So like, there's just little things like that you got to think about, especially if you're not a homeowner and you've never really talked about it. Like, I don't know if my dad has a will. My dad lives with a lady. They're not married, but they've been together for 20 plus years. If something happens, is she going to let me in that house to get my dad's stuff? You know, there's no will. My dad says, well, here's the keys to the safe. Get the guns out if I'm gone. It's like, is she going to let me in? She didn't have to. It's not my house. So that's why there's stuff that, I mean, I hope my dad has a will. I don't think he does, but I wish he would. That's why I keep hassling him about it, that he needs some sort of a plan. But because this has happened with my ex-wife, her mom passed away, and it was a pain to get her property. You know, the daughter had to prove next of kin. She had to get all this stuff. You know, we didn't know where anything was at. Certificate stuff, property. We didn't realize she had a storage unit over here and a closet over there and blah, blah, blah. So it's just to get your poop in a group when you're a gun owner. I think it's the responsible thing to do, especially if you want to ensure that your tools of freedom are going to be passed on to the second generation. So that, I guess that's a long answer to your question. Does that work?
Yeah, no, but it kind of really, I think it answers it for a lot of people. So my lawyer is pro 2A, and I haven't even considered asking her about, oh yeah, should we put the guns in the will? Or, you know, maybe I should look at a trust. Fortunately, she's familiar with NFA items as well. So if we ever do get that SBR or suppressor, then, you know, she would be able to handle that. I just really never thought about bothering her for it. So my answer is going to be yes, because now I'm considering it. I maybe should say, yeah, should we put this in the will?
Yeah. So we'll come back to that here in just a second. So I do want to give a shout out on the YouTube side as usual to everybody watching. We got a special recognition we're going to make, and he's probably not going to be here today. I'm going to feel bad about it. But anyway, Fluffy 10mm Jeep guys here. Hillbilly Up is over here and over there, pulling double duty this morning. Sam of Anarchy 92, Keyword Patriot in the Dark, Tacos and French Fries, Zinger. I guess I'm out there. Squib Lift, Squib Load, and Kingpin are watching today. So what I messed up on was when I was in StreamYard, I don't get a lot of super chats. Okay, so when they happen, I'm really not looking for them, especially for whatever reason I don't, and that's fine. But on the StreamYard side, you do get the colored bar for super chats that you get, but you don't get that little timer that YouTube shows you. And I very rarely have my YouTube window open while we're doing these podcasts. Well, Colostomy Bag was watching on Thursday, and he gave me a $5 super chat. And you guys might have tried to tell me in the private comments, and I didn't see it, and I didn't notice it. So I want to give him a little shout out and some recognition today. So he did a $5 super chat, and his quote, his comment was, I think a lot of non-gun people buy micro nines, and that's great. More people with guns, more better. Where's my ranch, Honda? Just a server. And E Honda was with us in the podcast on Thursday, and Colostomy Bag was screaming at Honda because Honda works in the food service industry and service industry. And so Colostomy Bag was screaming that he wants his ranch, and you know, Honda's replies, well, I'm just a server. I'm not the kitchen guy. I'm not the cook, you know. So anyway.
But the server is the one that brings you the extra ranch. And when you ask for extra ranch and you don't get it, then the tip isn't as big. It's very important. Yeah. It's like bringing more coffee. You want a tip? You got to bring some more.
Exactly. So anyway, Colostomy Bag, my apologies to you, man. I did not do it intentionally. I was trying to balance all those tabs and get through those lists of guns and try to keep it in a 1 hour time frame. And we shot past that anyway. So it's just until you guys run one of these podcasts, and depending on how much you put on yourself when you do them, it's easy to screw up. And so that's just kind of my little apology out there, because he's been watching my channel for a very long time. So Wanky Marshmallow out there has a question. Will you be able to pass along your semi-autos under the new assault weapons ban? So while I can't necessarily answer that question, in a trust, my understanding is that everybody in that trust is the property owner of those firearms and those NFA items. Now, if it's a suppressor and it's an SBR, in order to take legal possession of those things, the trustees don't have to pay the tax stamp on the firearms, but they do have to go through the application process to become the owner. So those items stay with an FFL until the trust process gives you that property. Now, so the thing is, we'll get into the whole process of how this all works. My understanding also is that the trustees, the co-owners of the trust, the next in line to get the stuff that's in your trust, they do have to go through a fingerprinting and a name submission process, and I believe photographs to the ATF to get the trust approved. And that's kind of why we have the discussion. Well, should I go through an attorney and spend $300 or $400? Should I do a $49, online trust application through a website that's been around for 15 years? What do I do? So I can't really give you that advice. I would just say if you don't want it to get screwed up, go through an attorney that knows trust. But if you want to try it yourself, this $50 place I'm going to show you, I'm going to try it and see what happens. But the thing is, by having you apply for that, to be on that trust as a trustee and to have you get, approved, that makes you the owner of that gun also. And depending on the stipulations of that trust, you can retrieve those items and do with them whatever you want, short of selling them based off of whatever the grantor, the owner of the trust desires are. So my assumption is even if there's a ban, you're a current property owner of that item. And I would imagine as long as you are on that before a ban takes place, you are essentially grandfathered in. I mean, these trusts are created by the government under ATF regulations following state law. So they pretty much dictate the terms of what's going to happen. So I would imagine that you will. Okay, so that's why I don't know. So, but I'm just saying that's the way that I understand how it works. So, Hillbilly Up, question for you, American Hillbilly. Do you have plans on where your firearms are going to go when you're gone? Have you talked to family at all? Have you done it? Have you set up a trust or anything for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, my wife and kids, they know who's going to get what.
Okay.
And so we've had that discussion. And so basically, one, and I had 3 daughters, and they're married, son-in-laws. And then I have 7 grandchildren. So, if somebody has a favorite, it's kind of known, and so it's like, they get that particular, sidearm or, rifle or whatever. A few of them's in the hunting and a few's not. So it's pretty obvious who might get the hunting rifles or something.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I'm not criticizing you for what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. That's the same agreement I have right now with my family. But when you're gone and it's property and it's got value, people change. I mean, I've seen families, you've probably seen, you've heard of kids that just go to court over the dog when you're gone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people, what they want, it destroys families if there is no set plan. Not that a will that gives stuff to one person and leaves another person out couldn't destroy a family. But I see how greedy people get when you're gone. They want that property, whether it's the wife nagging, hey, that gun's worth $5,000. You better go get that from grandpa. Well, I mean, that's what scares me. And that's why I say, if you look at the total value of your gun investment, your ammo investment, what's a $200 or $300 trust? That's nothing. That's
exactly.
Peanuts compared to what your property value is worth. And God, you need to have some plan, because the last thing you want is that stuff to get confiscated by local law enforcement or ATF, so it gets crushed or chopped up or whatever.
Yeah. And I am definitely going to look into the gun trust. I think it's a great deal. I really wasn't aware of it. I didn't know a whole lot about it till I went back and watched your live from 2 years ago, and I learned a lot right there.
Well, I try to compare it to a corporation, and that's just because of the website I got the information from. But I'm going to read through the Silencer Central. They posted a new description, and it's much easier to follow. It kind of hits the crucial questions that people ask. And so that's why I'm going to read through that to everybody once we get there.
And if I could add one more thing, I did, Travis, and I mean, it's definitely not anywhere close to the gun trust, as good as it, but I did write down all my serial numbers and models of guns and everything. And the way I set up my will and stuff is none of my stuff is allowed to be sold, including my house, property, guns, vehicles, because I have a lot of classic stuff. It can only be passed down through family generations. And I know that's
like unless there's nobody eligible to receive it or they can't financially maintain it, then at
Mhm.
that point it would have to
Yes.
it can sit and rot, or you can sell it and make something off of it.
Exactly.
I'm just saying that's the reality of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's a majority vote of the people I have listed in my will can sell, but it's, you know, known that I'd rather have it passed down than sold. So, but the gun trust is much better thing, and I'm definitely going to check into that and probably get it done. So.
The big thing is it gives instant access to those family members based off your permission. So, like, I'm just thinking me living in an apartment. I want these out before somebody comes in to take the rest of my property out, and it makes equal ownership amongst your trustees that you have. Now you might say, well, the will does that too, but this gives them access now, whereas you don't have to wait for the whole will process and sitting down with the attorney and the presentation to the family to happen. And it also the people that are trustees are pre-approved by the ATF to have those items. Because you might say, well, my nephew gets this. Well, your nephew gets an assault charge, gets a felony. Well, he's not going to get that shotgun. Now where does it go? You know, and do your family members know that? I mean, it really turns into a mess when you're talking about, we love these firearms and we appreciate them and we respect them, but what happens to them when we're gone, man? You got to make sure you got your ducks in a row. So, single shot, what about you? You and I, we have no children, so we've got to make sure that our guns get passed on to the next generation of whoever. What's your idea behind all this?
I got most of the stuff that Dad wanted me to have before he passed away. So I've got, I have possession of his stuff. I didn't have any NFA or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my brother and I have talked about this a couple of times, and I think it's going to be a reality here sometime in the very near future. And I think that's a good idea, you know. And I've heard a little bit about this, that, and the other thing about it, and I've not checked into it recently. But I do want my nieces and nephews, if they have an interest, if something happens to me, I want them to have the choice out of what I have to pass it on.
At least have something written down that's been maybe co-signed by the families. Like everybody signed this piece of paper, everybody gets a photocopy of it. Leave it with your attorney, so nobody can scream and holler and say, well, no, he said I can get this Makarov with the checker grips. No, what we agree to is you get the one with the the plastic grips or what, I'm just saying. I see how nitpicky family members get when I've seen it happen in my own family alone. When somebody's gone, like we've had family members screaming and arguing over who gets the old tube television that grandma used to own. It's like what is wrong with you people? It's the material stuff. And then when it comes to guns, that's a whole different ballgame. It can really create some issues. You know? So I'm just saying my concern for the money we put into these things as owners, man, it's a big deal. You know?
Oh yeah. I intend to make that clear, because we're gonna sit down and have dinner together or something here in the near future, and we'll make up our minds who's gonna do what, and try to keep that stuff under control there somewhat. But I don't want my stuff destroyed or misused, because I put a lot of time and effort and a lot of stuff, and I expect them to honor my wishes as well, because I've got two firearms myself that was handed down to me, one from my great grandfather and another from another one of my grandfathers that was on my mother's side. So those two firearms there, I'd like to see stay in the family. So,
well, at a minimum, have a list of everything that you have, and then just have a place where everybody can sign off so everybody understands the terms. Like, okay, if I'm gone, this piece of paper says you can have this. And again, here's the thing though, guys, we're telling you to do these things. You still have to follow your state laws. Your state laws may require non-immediate family members to go through a background check to receive a firearm. So you got to follow whatever your state laws dictate you have to do. So like me, I would have to make sure that if my cousin is going to get my handgun, that he's not immediate family. Does he have a carry permit? Does he have a pistol purchase permit?
Right.
He could take it and that's fine and everything's good. But if something would happen, he wants to sell it down the road or whatever, I'm just saying you want to make sure that you follow legally so none of these things get repossessed. Yoder Texas out there says, good morning, Travis. I was getting ready to make out a will kit and I had not given one thought to my guns. I'm glad I didn't go back to bed at Travis P11. So I would say spend the extra $200 or $300 going through your attorney, get the trust set up. And the nice thing about the trust is with one phone call, you can have a trustee pulled off. You can have any terms amended to that trust that's necessary. Now, I'm not saying your attorney's not going to bill you for every time you want to change to the trust. And I don't even know if the trust has to have guns and serial numbers. I don't believe it does. You can simply say the guns in my possession at this address belong to these people. You can do that. Yeah. You don't have to put that. And all that stuff's confidential anyway. The actual guns themselves, the people that get approved for it goes through the ATF. The guns themselves and what you have do not. Now, and here's the other thing with your NFA items, like we said before, if you got SBRs or suppressors, or say you got a full auto machine gun that you saved up your whole life to buy, and you bought it and now you're gone. The nice thing about those is the trustees have access to those items. And if they are approved, once they fill out the paperwork for the ownership of the item, they can then take it in their possession. The nice thing is you can't lose it. They just have to go through the process to be recipients of those items.
They have to go the legal route with
I was
certifications.
I was thinking once they're approved as a trustee, they can
legally
have
own it.
Yeah. I can't remember if they're the trustee, they can automatically do it, or if they have to go. It might be that they can borrow it or use it as trustees, but if they want to own it, they would have to go through whatever form paperwork they have to fill out the ATF. But they don't have to pay the tax stamp again. And so that's also the key too, just in case those stamp numbers, whatever, go up or whatever. You never know.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to see the things done away with, but that's my opinion.
Here's a good one, Gizzard Gary. My parents had no issues with us kids, but when my grandma passed away in 1981, she had written down on paper who was getting what, but it mysteriously vanished and everything ended up at auction. So I'm just saying, family, you think you know your kids, but family change when stuff like this happens. So yeah, and so like I said, maybe after today I'll get smart and get my own trust done. Right now I've got a verbal agreement with my family and the family members that, hey, if something happens to me, here's who's coming to take the guns, and then he gets them and he can do with them whatever he wants, you know. But again, that's also following state laws here, what we would have to do. Squibload, what about you? Are you just going to keep it a verbal agreement between you and the kids, or have you thought about a will or a trust or anything like that?
So at a certain point, I think I'm going to have these incorporated into the will, but if I don't, the verbal is fine. Unfortunately, though, where I live currently, the handguns are an issue. My understanding is that if I literally take a death certificate down to the police department and fill out the right kind of paperwork, I can have a handgun from a dead relative registered to me. I haven't done this, but I've inquired about it. It's a lot of paperwork, et cetera, because in Michigan they have a handgun registry. So that's the issue. Literally, the kids could come into the house. They don't have access to the safe, so they're going to have to cut them open or hire a locksmith or something. But they could come into the house if my wife and I had passed away in a tragic blimp accident or something.
Hot air balloon incident.
Yeah, and take the long guns and possess them, and they're not breaking any state or federal laws. But in Michigan, with the handguns, that could be a problem. I mean, if they took them and nobody knew, then nobody knew. But if they ever ended up in a car accident or some sort of whatever it is, and the firearm was there, and the cop ran the serial number, goes, "This ain't registered to you," then that's a problem. So the due diligence to do your paperwork here is kind of an impediment to a verbal agreement or even a written agreement, or maybe that written agreement that will or trust would make it easier with the handgun registration in Michigan. I don't know. I really should consult my lawyer on that. Now, we plan to move to a state that doesn't have a registration, and that's not the reason we're moving, but it's one of the benefits of living there. There's benefits and drawbacks to every place you live. And at that point, if I didn't have a will or a trust, what's the difference? If they know to come into the house and get these certain items out before X, Y, or Z, the issue really comes down for me is if my sons were to fight with each other over it, or even worse, if they get married, it's not my sons fighting, it's their wives fighting. Because I've seen this so many times, they don't care about the in-laws. They don't care about the property. They don't care. And then somebody dies, and now suddenly they want the jewelry. They want the guns. They want the. Oh, yeah. She could be anti-gun as you know what, but suddenly it's like, get all those guns because they're running them down to the pawn shop. Now, if I'm gone, I'm not around to care about what happens to my stuff. I would like to see my stuff stay in the family from generation to generation. I don't think there's a clause I could put in a will that says you have to keep this in the family or this has to go. If there is, maybe I'd want that, you know.
In the trust, you dictate the terms of the property. So your dying wishes are that these items not be sold by the trustees.
Okay.
So I don't know. And see, here's the problem is, okay, so the trustees have them. Can they write a trust to pass them on to their kids? That's what I don't know. And the thing is, if you have co-trustees, which are a step below the trustees, the co-trustees, which could be children, they also have to be fingerprinted and their names also have to be on file in the trust, which gets filed with the ATF, which let's just say you got a kid who's 5. You go through the whole process and have the kid registered, you know. Now, there's a lot of people right now who say, I'm not giving the government my fingerprints, blah, blah, blah. You make this work however it's going to work best for your family. I'm just saying that if you live in a place that has laws or restrictions, if you want to ensure, if this matters to you, you come up with the proper channels to ensure that these guns get passed on through the generations. I keep saying this because we don't want, regardless of what would happen in the House and the Senate, blah, 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 assault weapons ban, whatever, regardless of what happens, we want to ensure that these don't disappear within a generation, that they're not gone after me, or those guns don't disappear after my trustees are gone. So I'm just saying we want these, I want these in a museum in 500 years from now, okay? So I'm just saying that that's why it's such a big deal, you know?
And see, they're okay. We've got something in our family that could be worth a lot of money, or it could be a museum piece or something. It's not a firearm. It's something else. And recently, the discussion came up about what's going to happen to it. And, you know, me and one of my other brothers, we have kids. So if we got it, it would go to one of our kids. But which kid, right? And my other brother doesn't have any kids, and he thinks it should go in a museum. But I don't like the idea of this thing going in a museum where it's no longer in the family. On the other hand, when you can't divide this thing up amongst 14 kids or some crazy number like that or something, right? So that's not going to work either. So therein lies another thing with the firearms. If I've got 40 guns and 10 grandkids and I want each grandkid to get 4, I don't want to put something in there saying each grandkid gets 4. I'm going to list the 4 they get, so there's no fighting over it. Another thing too is, all right, you will all of your, or you trust, you know, you put in a trust to your son all of your guns. You pass away and then he gets divorced and she wants half the guns in the divorce. And then they're going to go to her and her new boyfriend. It's like, whoa. So, yeah, there's just some stipulations in there that I don't know what legal lines, you know, how they're blurred. So I think I would be looking at this as something to be specific to prevent the least amount of loss out of the family and the least amount of infighting, because it's just crazy how people suddenly want the dumbest things. You never like this about this person, but now
I don't know what it is with human beings which causes them to get this way. It's sickening is what it really is.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's like you didn't want grandma's Ugg boots before. Now you want them? Well, I like the smell of them. Oh my God. What? No, grandma said I can have the Ugg boots. And it's October. My feet are cold. You're a man. It doesn't matter. Grandma said I can have the Ugg boots. And then your family gets destroyed. There's no Thanksgiving over fighting over some pair of shoes. You know, I mean, that's literally what it comes down to. This is what we're trying to eliminate for the viewers. Fluffy 10 millimeter Jeep guy says, my ex-father-in-law passed and I got his handguns. All I had to do was fill out the same paperwork as if I got it from an FFL and just put deceased as seller with his name, and I'm in Michigan. So,
okay, and that's what you do. All right. I thought you told me he needed a death certificate, but he's gone through it. I've only called and asked about it. So, yeah. There you go.
Oh, he said not a 4473, but the purchase permit.
Right. And yeah, okay. So you go to your local law enforcement. That's whether it's your city police or the sheriff, and you fill out, it's an R51 form or something. It's a 3-piece form. You put your information, the seller's information, and the information about the gun on each of these 3 forms. They keep one, you keep one, the seller keeps one. That's how it works, right? And there's a $10 processing fee, although they only have charged me that fee half the time. Now, back in the day, you actually had to bring the gun in. They took it in the back. They did a safety inspection, air quote, safety inspection. I've handed a single action to a cop, and he doesn't even know how to get the loading gate open, and you're going, oh my goodness, stuff like that. They don't do
He's
the
trying
same.
to push the cylinder out of the side, and there is no switch.
Yeah, he's trying to do a mag release on a wood grip there that has no, it's just got a mainspring in it or whatever. But anyhow, yeah. So you don't have to bring the gun in. They usually don't want you to bring the gun in. Definitely don't bring it in with any ammunition. If you do, you just need the paperwork. And it used to be back in the day that you had to go and get the paperwork and bring it to your FFL or bring it with you to the gun show, and it was good for so long or whatever. Now your FFL can send it directly to the police. You go to your local, you just drop the form in a drop box in a lobby. You can do it at midnight. It doesn't matter. It's easy to do. I don't agree with the registration here. And in some cases, it can be a pain in the butt, like this extra paperwork if they die and you're trying to take legal ownership in this state. But the registration has never been an issue, other than the hassle and the $10 maybe. They don't come door to door here. This isn't Louisiana or New York State, so we don't have that sort of problem here. I'm not saying I agree with it. It's just a lot of people lose their minds when they hear that Michigan has this sort of thing. What it really comes down to is a paperwork issue. When you're trying to buy from a private owner, if you don't have a concealed pistol license, there's a lot of extra paperwork or driving back and forth or inconvenient.
Doing a dealer transfer and paying $28 both ways, $40 both ways.
So having a will or having a trust may not be necessary, but it just might make things a little bit easier in a state like this. If you've got a similar registration thing, you might want to look at what your state laws are after you pass away to make sure that this is as seamless as possible, because the more red tape you put in between, the less likely somebody is to follow through on it or follow through on it legally, and now they're getting themselves in trouble, and that's not what you want.
So I want to say this real quick, and then we'll call on Foos to get his opinion on this. X-Adam1 says, hey, Travis P11, I'm waiting for my suppressor to come out of paper jail to add my son and my niece to my trust. And here's the thing about a lot of the suppressors, like a lot of these places that sell these NFA items, like the suppressors, the machine guns, the SBRs, they're giving you free trusts at the time of purchase. They go through the whole process, give you a couple $100 worth of legalese, and they basically, they set the trust up for you, and then you put on there whoever you want. They go through that whole process, which I think is really cool that they offer that, or they at least create the document to get to your attorney so you can add it to your estate. But I think that's cool they do that, because that's another way they kind of bring you in to ensure the sale. Foos, quick question. What are your thoughts on wills, trusts? You've got a couple guns. Do you have plans for them when you're gone?
Right now I don't, but that's something I definitely need to look into, especially since I do have a suppressor sitting at the shop right now. So I did get to thinking, I'm like, okay, I want to have that on my home defense AR. If I leave the house and my girlfriend's there, crap, So that is something we need to look into.
And like I say, a lot of us just don't want to do it. We just don't want to spend the money, but it's like, look at the total amount of your gun collection. What's $300 or $400 with your attorney to ensure that stuff's not going to go bye-bye when you're gone, or end up at an auction or an estate sale,
Right now, because I'm single, like if it goes bye-bye, I have no partake. It doesn't affect me at all. It's money that I'm not going to spend because I'm gone. But if I am attached to someone, then absolutely, like the day she signs a marriage license, the same day she is on my stuff. So
yeah. Unless you'd have a prenuptial that she doesn't get the guns, which you could have a legal agreement that just says, we're getting married. You keep your purses and shoes. I keep my guns. We'll have a happy marriage. We'll both live happily ever after, So depending on how that works with property laws and things like that. Yeah. Real quick, looking at the survey, 64% of you don't have a plan for what's going to happen to your firearms when you're gone, and 36% of you do. So again, I'm not going to go scream Chicken Little or whatever, but if some kind of a ban would pass, you got to make sure you got your ducks in a row so that you know what's going to happen to them. And if you have nobody to pass that stuff on to, then that's it. You don't. That's end of the line, I guess. So that happens to people all the time.
Yeah, and with the thing that passed yesterday, it doesn't even look like trusts will do much.
Pass the house only.
Right, house only. Yes, house only.
Yeah, we won't, we'll wait till after this is all said and done. I do want to give a shout out to Yankee Marshall because his video explained why you don't want to freak out right now. He said it's important to be vigilant, but he also said all these people are saying that this ban has passed. And not that I want to start talking about the potential, whatever, HR bill, but he did say that it hasn't gone through the second half of the process yet. So don't freak out yet. Be vigilant, contact your representatives, let them know you're concerned, but don't go freak out and panic buy, especially if it's something that you think you might want, but you don't need, or something you just want to buy just to be buying it and then drive prices up. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I did buy a parts kit last night, but that's because it was a price I wanted to pay, and PSA had free shipping, and I've got 2 lowers I need to finish. And I only had one parts kit.
So do you guys know how I've been talking about needing to get a gun for my collection?
Oh, my God. Wait, did I just see that? Squib, you better hurry up and catch up to him. This Glock fever is becoming an addiction with people here. What? Is that your first Glock?
Yes.
Did you buy a G17?
Yes.
Boots, you want a hug? Come here. Let's hug it out, bro. Let's hug it out. No. You're like, this is the only Glock I will ever buy, Travis. Yeah.
So the thing is 2 days ago, I bought magazines for it.
Oh, yes.
And I just bought the thing today. I was going to go yesterday, but I got too busy.
What did I do that on? I did that on my AKV like 6 months before I bought 6 magazines because they were like $14 a mag and they were free shipping. I'll go buy an AKV. That gives me an excuse to go buy one. I should put another poll up. Have you ever bought magazines for a gun you don't own so you can go buy that gun? And the answer would probably be yes. So
yeah, I just did. Yeah, I bought 6 mags 2 days ago, and the thing comes with 3. So
yeah, you're sitting. Did you get a Gen 5 G17?
Yeah.
So the only real, not that it matters, but the only real complaint I've seen about it is that the finish doesn't hold up as well as the Gen 4s and Gen 3s. But they wear just like a Gen 4 to Gen 3. I love my Gen 5. It's awesome.
I keep less about finish. You've seen my guns. I care less.
No. I know that's the only thing. That's the only complaint I've ever seen people complain about. But like, keep them clean. It doesn't matter. Keep them well lubed. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not a Glock fanboy, but I think the G17 it's the bread and butter of the Glocks. It's the I've said it before. It's a Honda Accord of Glocks. You know, so there you go. All right, so Foos, you want to go ahead and mute because we have some road noise. I'm going to go through the details of the trust. I'm going to read the article to people here real quick. So guys, I did put the links in the article, and I do want to get through this just to kind of talk about the terminology real quick. And if anything pops up for comments or super chats, panelists, please interrupt me and let me know. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything right now. So, all right, so what I'm going to share with you real quick is the Chrome tab for how NFA trusts work. Now, it says for suppressors. We're going to skip the first part, and this is from Silencer Central. Again, I'm not endorsed by Silencer Central, but they've got one of the best current descriptions of what an NFA gun trust is. Now, this talks about NFA items, but it also describes about how the process of the gun trust is going to work. So it says, a trust is a legal tool for holding and transferring assets. Because NFA items have to be registered to a legal entity, many people choose to put them in a trust for various reasons. At one time, it was a common workaround for a now obsolete rule. We're going to skip that rule altogether because it doesn't apply. Now, how to set up a gun trust. There's basically 3 approaches to an NFA gun trust. 1, there's the free trust given by NFA dealers and manufacturers with the purchase of a product. This is a popular marketing tool to attract customers who may not already have a trust. Silencer Central offers a free NFA gun trust, which we'll talk more about later. So if you buy an SBR from a company, or you buy a suppressor from a company or a machine gun, they may include a free trust for that item. Now, that's just for that item. It's not a all-encompassing gun trust, but this just explains the basics of what the trusts are and where to find them. Now, number 2 is going to be the low-priced boilerplate trusts. Here, an attorney has created an NFA gun trust for your state, and it sells it again and again at a reasonable price. So this one website I'm going to show you guys, they do $49 gun trusts for like 42 states, if I'm not mistaken. It says this is a win-win for everyone. The attorney gets a really nice profit margin, and gun owners get access to a trust at a fraction of the cost of having one drawn up specifically for them. Now, number 3, I disagree with this. If you have a family attorney, or you've got a Pro 2A attorney, or an attorney that you trust, they're kind of shying you away from going that route, but on the other end, they're just trying to save you money. So number 3 says the high-priced boilerplate trusts. This is perhaps the most predatory and expensive way of buying a trust. These trusts are just like the ones above, but they're marketed in breathless terms that take advantage of people's confusion about trust and NFA law. I would disagree with that because the attorney is giving you their time to create a legal document that the liability is on them if they screw up. So I disagree with that because if you want to go through an attorney, you should if you want to make sure that nothing's going to get messed up, and also to ensure that this thing is going to go through the first time. Okay.
Also, you like the difference between going through your local attorney or your family attorney and one that does this for a living is your family attorney may not know all the ins and outs of it, and the one that does it for a living that has a lower margin because it does it in more volume. You may be as 500th trust versus first.
Yeah, if you can't find that person, you don't know where to go, then get the free trust with the NFA item when you buy it, or just do the online application. Like I said, this one place we're going to look at is $49, and they have yet to have one get refused by the ATF. So, but then you answer the question like, well, then where do I put it once it's created? Or what if I need to amend it? What happens then? Well, then you probably have to go through your attorney to make amendments to it, like putting people on the trust or taking people off or deleting certain items or changing the stipulations. That's why I would just say almost buy once, cry once, go through your attorney if they're knowledgeable on gun trust and just get it set up that way. So that way you know that it's done. But I'm not going to argue with what Silencer Central is saying. They've got a good point. They just don't want people to be taken advantage of where this trust will cost you $1,000 or $2,000. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. So why use an NFA gun trust, or why use a gun trust in general? 2 simple words explain why you should get an NFA gun trust. Estate planning. Oh, there are other ones that we'll get into in a moment, but this is a biggie. You see, the nature of NFA items can make it difficult for your heirs to deal with. However, a trust allows near seamless transfer of ownership and registration to your heirs after your death. No other tool exists for such easy transfer of NFA items, but of course there are more reasons. Now, just any items in the trust in general, the people that are trustees are basically co-property owners at the time, so they have unlimited access to those items based off of your stipulations as the grantor or the person that created the trust. The ATF tends to process registrations in the name of trusts faster. Why? Nobody knows. Probably because they're the most common application and thus prioritized. That alone is a good reason to use them. NFA gun trusts are also a great way to allow family and close friends access to your NFA items. NFA trusts for suppressors are especially popular for this reason. You can put multiple people on a trust, which legally allows them to use an NFA item like a suppressor without you being physically present. So in other words, if you want to let somebody borrow your suppressor and take it hunting, you can do that by putting them on your trust. Now, this doesn't impact estate planning, as many people can be on a trust, but only one can be designated to take ownership after death. So as you can see, there's a lot of advantages to NFA trusts, from estate planning to faster processing to allowing family and friends to access your NFA items. Now, I think it's sad that we even have to do this. I think it's sad you just can't leave in your will that your suppressor goes to your kids. But these are the rules right now. Not that we can't reverse these regulations or shouldn't fight to, but this is the reality of where we are right now. And if you die today, that suppressor is going to go to wherever it's legally bound to go. Now, how much does an NFA gun trust actually cost? Well, it says trusts are interesting documents. At their core, they are legal concepts that vary from state to state. Each state has different trust law, and trusts have to be written to comply with those laws and be satisfactory to the ATF. That means the first time you draft one, you're probably paying a lawyer for a few hours of time. Now, it's true there's a good bit of boilerplate that goes into a trust. Still, it has to be customized the first time around. After a generic NFA gun trust is written, then the language can be used again and again by anyone in that state. So again, buy once, cry once. This means 2 things. First, creating a trust can cost up to a few $100s in lawyer time. After that, the created trust can be copied and sold to many different people. And here's where things get interesting. Okay, so this is kind of the little interesting part. It says most NFA gun trusts are designed to accommodate multiple items and multiple trustees. That's why drafting one from scratch can be expensive. However, when the ATF implemented a new rule in 2017, things got more complex and more simple for owners of NFA items. It says, you see, trust can allow the addition or removal of trustees on the fly. You literally can pencil or erase trustees. Those are the recipients of your items that are in your trust. However, the ATF now requires that all trustees for NFA items to submit fingerprints and photo identification information. I think, don't quote me on this, this would be things that are regulated like SBRs or suppressors or like machine guns, right? Now, that says that makes it harder to add trustees and adds another layer of annoyance to the already annoying world of NFA ownership. I don't believe it's going to include the firearms in your collection that don't fall under that classification, right? But to use a clickbait phrase, there's one weird trick discovered by a lawyer in their garage, not really, that the ATF hates. Well, again, not really. It's just a neat loophole. You see, if you have one trust with many NFA items on it, you have to do the whole fingerprint photo ID thing for each and every trustee. But if you have one trust for each different NFA item that you have, you can add and remove trustees as you wish without additional ATF oversight. Weird, isn't it? So that's something that you probably have to consult your attorney about.
Read that again.
Weird. Okay, it says, if you have one trust with many NFA items on it, you have to do the whole fingerprint photo ID thing for each and every trustee.
Yes.
But if you have one trust for each different NFA item that you have, like say I got 3 suppressors, I have 3 different trusts for each of those 3 different suppressors, it says then you can add and remove trustees as you wish without additional ATF oversight. Weird, isn't it? I have yet to quite figure out what they mean by that. I almost want to contact Silencer Central and say, explain it to me. So you don't have to do fingerprinting and photo IDs if you have a single trust for a suppressor and I want to add somebody to it. I thought that was the regulation anyway. So I don't know about that. I don't quite understand what they mean by that. Maybe somebody out there watching this on the YouTube site can explain it. Maybe you guys have some sort of legal explanation. An NFA gun trust form is just another fancy way of saying NFA gun trust. You need to get a trust through one of the prior mentioned means in order to get your trust set up. Then you can proceed with using it to buy or build whatever NFA items you can afford and get approved by the ATF. And then it just talks about more stuff about suppressors and so on. So the point here is that when you create the trust and you add your trustees, they basically will have access to those items that are in the trust. And so when you're gone, there's no question about who they belong to. Now, the thing that you could run into for certain issues would be out of state. Let's say they live in New York. You leave your AR-15s to your nephew, New York Outcast, that lives in New York. Well, he's going to have to follow what other state regulations there are for transfer and ownership of those items. So think about that. Like if you've got a kid living somewhere like up in Canada and you want to transfer those AR-15s to that kid, they would have to probably have some sort of a resident address in the U.S. in order to receive them. So you really want to think through what's going to happen. But for the majority of us, we have kids that live in the same town or live in the next state over. It's not such a big deal, but they're going to have to follow whatever state laws say for that sort of transfership. And like we mentioned earlier with Michigan, that's a process you have to go through. So every state's going to be different. So again, that's why I honestly feel in the end that, if they're going to give you that free trust, say you buy a suppressor from Silencer Central or whatever, then take the free trust. Okay, great. I mean, try it and see how it goes. And if it's seamless, wonderful. So Adam1 says, do the adding of the trustees after you have all the items already, because if you add another item, you'll have to once again get everyone fingerprinted. Okay, maybe that explains it. Do the adding, it's not a question. Do the adding of the trustees after you have all the items already, because if you add another item, you'll have to once again get everyone fingerprinted. Okay, well, that's all right. So maybe it's if you've got multiple items in one trust. Like I said, this is kind of the gray area for me, but we're simply just talking about, Now, I don't want this little article I just went through, I don't want this to, sway anybody away from getting one. I do recommend you talk to an attorney or look at one of these places online. So one of the first places that's going to pop up in a Google search, if you get done watching this podcast and you're like, oh, gun trust, let's see what's out there. A lot of people just want to go get the form online. I did find one that looked promising. I'm actually going to try it again. I'm not endorsed by these guys. There's the Trust Shop. Okay, so the $49 NFA Gun Trust. They've been around since 2008. I went into their FAQs and I was reading about what they do. Now, what they have done is they have the ATF form system on their website. So when you go to set up the trust, they have the forms that you fill out that you submit to the ATF for approval. So all the required documentation it takes to make your trust legit does go to the ATF directly through their form system. They created it. And so they say by January 31st of 2018, our customers had created more than 1,000 Form 1, Form 4, Form 20, and Form 23 applications using the Trust Shop automated form system. As of January of 2020, our customers have created more than 25,000 ATF applications using the Trust Shop ATF form system, and not a single application has ever been denied. So that's why I'm going to try these guys and see how it goes and see exactly what they're asking for. What I want is just a trust that's going to cover my guns, and none of them are NFA specific items. There's no suppressors, there's no SBRs yet, there's no machine guns. So this is one of the first places that's going to pop up. Before you use this, read every single tab, read all the information. They cover the fingerprints, how to fill out the cards, how to submit them, the FAQs, the reviews. They've got contact info if you don't understand it. So these guys just kind of came together and made a one-stop shop for online trust, and they just happen to be the first one that pops up in a Google search. So this would be my suggestion to you, is try this if you don't have an attorney and you don't know what to do. Now, if you're in a state that won't allow this, then you're just out of luck. I'm sorry. So that's what I would recommend somebody look into. Okay, now I'm going to drop this back on the panel. What are your thoughts on all of this? Any changes, any thoughts, any ideas? Foos, what would you say? Is this something maybe to look into?
Yes. Especially if you do have like NFA items that other people could possibly have access to while you are not around.
That's cool. Like, let's just say you're out of town, your nephew wants to borrow your suppressor for a deer hunt. He can use it.
I wouldn't even. Hey. I wouldn't even say that. I would say just like, oh, people have keys to your house that, you know, put them on. If you trust them in your house, you may want to trust them with your NFA items. Because like, think about this, like if I'm out somewhere and I have it on my rifle, my home defense rifle, and my girlfriend comes in, she's not on my trust, that's a transfer.
Yeah.
Granted, is someone ever going to get, you know, knocked for that? Most likely no, but
doesn't mean a DA wouldn't try, especially depending on the state you live in.
Right.
Yeah, we keep hearing. Yeah, go ahead.
But by definition of the law, and we're all law-abiding, that is a transfer.
Okay. Kevin Jung has a question. What's the difference between this and a living trust and will? So the will says to whom the property goes when you're deceased. The trust makes people active property owners at that time that the trust is published or becomes legal. So like if I create the trust now and I put my cousins on there that are going to inherit my firearms, they're trustees. Under my stipulations, they have access to those items now. So Kevin, it makes them the current property owners, the co-owners of that property with me at the same time. They are the gun owners too. Whereas with a will, they're going to have to inherit it. They're not pre-approved by the ATF. They're not on there. They don't have instant access to it. They've got to wait till there's a will reading. And then after then, it's going to have to go under the laws and rules and regulations, where if they're on the trust and they have access to those items now, like they were already the gun owner, they can go get them. It's just an ease of transfer of regulated items between family members. So the will might say, well, you know, Travis, you're going to inherit your dad's guns, you know, but we still have to go through it because of state law, whatever. Or you're getting a gun from an uncle. Well, you're not immediate family, but now because of state law, we have to go to an FFL and you have to fill out the transfer paperwork and pay the transfer fee. Whereas on the trust, I could just go to his house and go get it. Yeah. Depending on state law,
it's like,
and bring it back with me, you know, depending on what the laws say. Yeah.
So if you have a gun collection, you're trying to pass it on to loved ones. I could see it as, hey, this is one less thing your family will have to deal with after you have passed.
Yeah, that's why I want to do it. I mean, the right thing would happen in my family. I have no kids. I have no brothers and sisters. So the family members that are going to inherit my firearms, it really would be seamless for my family. My mom would give the key to my apartment to my cousin so he could come take the guns, because this is our verbal agreement. But for other people, it might not be so simple. But then also this way, I want him to be the property owner so he could do with it what he needs to and or transfer, because he's the owner. If he wants to set up their kids down the road when they have children as the next recipients, whether they will it or set up another trust, good. I want them to do that. So it's just, it makes that person a property owner under your terms and stipulations. Now, your trust might say, you can't touch my guns till I'm gone, and when I'm gone, you can't sell them. Okay, that's fine. Or the trust could say, you have access to my items right now. It's whatever you want as you're called a settlor, S-E-T-T-L-O-R. The person that creates the trust, that sets the stipulations for it, that's what you do. So that's a good one. Hillbilly Up, you asked the question, does the government have access to your gun trust record? So if you have like an old shotgun from grandpa that's not registered to you but legal in your state. So the ATF, other than the ATF regulated items like suppressors, SBRs, machine guns, the actual trusted, they will know about those items because they have to, because they're registered and they're whatever. But your actual private collection, no, that's confidential. So whatever's in that is, what do you call it? Attorney client privilege or whatnot. The only people that will know about that, I mean, if you want to be honest about it, the ATF knows who the first purchaser is of every gun, right? Because the serial number going to the dealer being registered to the original owner anyway. But like an active trust that you might have, no, what's in that trust is confidential, and you put as much detail into it as you want. The government doesn't know that. I mean, they shouldn't. They don't get a copy of the trust itself. They just approve the trustees to be recipients of those items. That's all. Okay. Does that answer your question on that? Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fair to me. That's something I was just curious about, because, in my state of Missouri, you don't have to, like, if you buy a second party or if it's a gift, you don't have to have anything registered, or that item registered. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, especially you're talking pre-whatever 19 whatever year guns that didn't have a serial number on them. You want to make sure that grandpa's double barrel gets passed on to the grandkids, or the other one I was wondering about is, let's just say I do some 80% builds, ghost guns, right?
Yeah.
If those would get banned or your grandfather didn't, no more after this date, say after this August, when I think that's supposed to kick in, what happens to those? Those are unserialized. What happens to those? Well, I think with the 80% builds, don't quote me on this, but I think that you can't have co-owners on those other than like maybe I don't even know if a spouse would legally count, because you can't do anything with that gun unless it's serialized.
I know you cannot
to sell it has to be serialized. So I don't know if you could pass that 80% build to your kids. If they were trustees on a gun trust, I'd have to do more research, because a lot of you guys might have polymer 80 builds, or you might have 80% lowers that you finished for ARs. What happens to that? That might be something where if the federal law says that's current owner only, no next of kin recipients, I mean, who's going to know if they come take it? They can say, well, I built it. There's no proof of when it was bought, or well, there is a sales record somewhere. But
yeah, I think that's the way it is. If you have an 80% without a serial number, it cannot be transferred at your death. It has to be destroyed. That's what I've heard.
Now, Patriot in the Dark's got a good question. Does it mention once the creator dies, the grantor, does someone automatically become the leader of the trust? Then can they just add people to the trust without making a new one? I don't know. I don't know what happens. I would assume that the trustees, but if you have 3 or 4, then are they grantors? Are they co-grantors? That I don't know. What would probably happen is once they get those items as trustees, since they are the legal owners, they could go create their own trust, because they are property owners of those items. They could then create their own trust and set up the stipulations for those items, because they are the next property owners. They're passed on to the next set of, so they're just bound to whatever the laws are at that time. So I would imagine that they would go create a new trust and list those items in the trust and go through the whole process of having co-trustees and so on, as the recipients of those items. Again, I'm really leaving this into a gray area because I don't have an attorney with me today, but I'm also maybe answering some of the questions a lot of you are going to run into, or questions that you might want answered before you decide to go through with something like this. So yeah, that's a really good question.
And also, you might have this plan to come up later, but I'd also like to address the red flag laws. Does a trust cover that? Which here in Missouri, we don't have to worry about that. But I know in a lot of states that could be an issue.
Now, they could be taken because of an immediate safety factor, but my understanding is that's property of the trustees. So they would have to go back to, you might have a hassle, there might be delays, but that's the property. The thing is, the trustees are property owners. So it's like you and I have a car. If you go do something stupid with that car and that car gets impounded, cars can be something totally different. I'm on that title too. That's my car. I want it back. Maybe I got to pay the impound fee to get it back, but it's my car.
So yeah. Like you could have multiple owners for a vehicle. For a firearm, you can only have a singular owner of that property per law. So NFA items and all these trusts, the trust is the singular owner of it. You're just saying these other people have access to that trust property. That's what trusts do for NFA items.
Weston Probe says, so is it worth having a gun trust for non-FA items? Absolutely, because those guns can go to those people seamlessly because they're already approved to receive them as co-owners of the property. So they, pending state laws and transfer laws and so on.
Well, yeah, because think about it. Like if you pass and you have in your will they go to your brother or something, he's then going to have to go through 4473, have all your firearms, and if you have more than 2 firearms, that then or more than 2 pistols, that then goes to the ATF.
Yeah, I would just say have the trust set up just for a seamless transfer of the property. I know the $200 to $400 stings, but this is kind of how we are as gun owners. Like we don't want to spend the $200 to $400 to to do these things, right? Yet we'll go spend $600 or $800 on a gun. We don't want to buy a gun safe.
On a 4-end.
We don't want to buy an $800 gun safe, but we'll go buy a $1,200 Colt Python. It's like you got to get your priorities straight as a gun owner, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't go buy what you want when you want. Go do whatever you want. I could care less. I'm just saying that there's stupid decisions that I think we make as gun owners sometimes, how we prioritize what we want, because we don't see an immediate return on it. Maybe like, well, I'll get a gun trust later on, And like with me, like, okay, so let's say I told my cousins they can have my guns, but then I die. My mom cracks open my safe when she comes to my apartment. Oh my God, he's got $7,000 worth of guns in here. They're not going to them. They're not even my kids. We're putting these up on an auction. We're taking them to the pawn shop. We're taking them to whatever. My husband's a gun guy. He's going to put them on Gun Broker. So I'm not saying that these people would do these things. My family's wonderful and fantastic, but this is the reality of what we live in today. So yeah, I think Weston, you absolutely need to have some sort of plan for what's going to happen to them, and the trust makes it more seamless for those items to transfer.
And I wonder in the trust if you could have more than other stuff. Like I have reloading press. I have all that other stuff.
Since it's a gun trust, it's probably going to have to be firearm specific. I would have a living will drawn up, or some sort of document that everybody has a copy of, that everybody's agreed to and signed off on, that says my reloading components go to FOOS. Even a written document has some sort of legal clout if everybody signed off on it, and you could maybe have that stamped or whatever. I can't remember what they call that. We take it to somebody and have it verified or have it written in front of an attorney. Then there's no question, especially
notarized.
if you've got notarized, especially if you've got a lot of items that really have a high value to them. The last thing you want is your family tearing itself apart over a million projectiles that they find in your basement, and somebody wants to sell them and somebody else wants to keep them. So Weston, I would absolutely say yes. Now, Yoder makes a good point. I assume that in a community property state, an 80% build is already property of both the husband and wife. The kids will be out of luck. Yeah, I was thinking with the 80% that you can't pass those on to your kids. Not that your kid couldn't take it. I mean, who's going to say that he can't tell the ATF, oh, I bought this and did this myself? Well, then they're going to want a purchase record or sales record, whatever. I mean, I would say that's highly unlikely. Not that it couldn't happen. But like with my 80% build, if my cousin comes and takes it, who's ever going to know that he didn't do it? Aside from the fact that in the end, he would have no proof of purchase, basically. So, let's see.
But do you have proof of purchase? You could have bought it cash at a gun store, at a gun
shop.
Oh,
this is true. This is true. Yeah. You didn't get a receipt. Well, you're supposed to. You should have a receipt. Well, then the burden of proof is on you. That's the problem.
I paid.
And then, I bought it from this table. What gun store? What gun? Well, you got to tell us. Otherwise, you're looking at a felony. You've got an unauthorized firearm. You've got to prove. I mean, we're talking hypotheticals here.
Or let's say you bought, Travis, you bought 2 of them. You were going to plan on finishing them both out. You finish one out, and you're like, this isn't for me. And then you sell me one. For me, my burden is, I bought it cash from a guy, pre-sale. It was unfinished at the time.
Yeah. That's a good point.
The thing is the burden should not be on the individual on whether they purchase it. The burden should be on the government to prove that you did something illegal.
But when the ATF comes knocking and you don't know what to do, and your neighbors are looking out the window while there's 7 sheriffs out front of your house, it's like the stress is on. I'm just thinking about that video I saw recently where that guy did multiple handgun purchases, and the ATF officers showed up with the local sheriffs. And that was a complete strong arm, jackboot, whatever, maneuver by the government on that poor guy.
Yeah, and that's something, I said earlier, is like, if you buy more than 2 pistols at a time, the ATF gets a copy of that 4473.
And they could show up at your house if they want to. They have a legal right to do so. It's just like, but you just don't expect it to happen in the suburbs, I'm just saying. It just,
I don't think they have a legal right to do that unless you are NFA.
Well, I thought, I don't know. Weston Probe says, what if you already have a trust for something else like a land trust? Can guns be put in that trust, or should it be separate? No, the thing about the NFA, the thing about the gun trust, once you set up a firearms trust, is I can't remember if fingerprints and photographs are necessary for non-FA items, but the gun trust is just specifically about the firearms, and essentially the people that are the recipients of that property are approved to receive that property and have access to that property. So there's no question about it. A land trust is going to be deemed for a specific type of property. And again, your attorney might say, well, we can have amendments added onto that trust. Well, then that's between you and your attorney. So we're just specifically talking firearms trust for today. So, okay, Patriot in the Dark also says, you also need to check a trust in case you're incapacitated in a hospital. Did it with my parents over money. It's like, I'm thinking, okay, if you're in a coma and you've got these guns sitting there, I mean, you want to make sure that your kids don't come along and take them and sell them, or if it looks like they're going to pull the plug tomorrow. We're talking awful things here, but I see what family members have done to each other. I've seen this, not in my own immediate family, but I've seen my family do this, fighting over property once somebody passes away. It makes it's going to create hard feelings, but at the same time, it's your will. It's what you wanted. So people have to accept that, and then families can move on. So we're just trying to make it as seamless as possible. So, and again, I'm not endorsed by any of these. It can get nasty. It can. Yeah, it can end families, which is really sad. So, SS Pond is out there. He says, "Good morning, everybody." Good morning, Stan. Good to see you. Good to see that banner up and shining today. So I like that. Hillbilly up. I might just properly bury my guns individually and leave a treasure map for my kids to find them. That would be fun. That would be fun. You got like PVC pipes all buried all over your 1,000 acres.
It's an Easter egg hunt.
Easter egg hunt. Yeah, let's go find the just in case shotgun. So make sure you put a couple packets of silica desiccant in there so they're not rusted when they pull them out. So
and then you go to a pipe, you're like, oh, I wonder if this is pop shotgun. Open up, it's nothing but primers.
Dude, that's better than a gun. Are you kidding me? Who wants a Jimenez JA9 when you can have 15,000 primers waiting for you to just Oh man. Now we're not endorsing. Remember, the views expressed by the panelists on today's show are not those necessarily endorsed by Travis P11 or the co-panelists, if you will. The trustees of today's panel of today's podcast.
We just joke around.
Yeah. So again, just looking at those, I'm going to go back to the survey just one more time. I just want to see, because it looks like the vast majority of us don't have plans. And if you don't want to, man, you don't have to. But I'm just saying, why wouldn't you? You put all this time and money into acquiring these things and enjoying them and for what they represent, and you don't have a plan for them when you're gone. So 62% of you say no, you have not made plans to pass on your firearms, and 37% of you say yes. And again, honestly, the vast majority of the people watching my videos are males between like 25 and 40. At that age, you think you're invincible. You don't worry about certain things like that. I'd say majority of those people don't even have a living will, don't even have a right to resuscitate or power of attorney plan at all anywhere. But it's different when it's guns. And if you really do care, you will do something. Make some sort of plan. I don't care what it is, whether it's a list everybody agrees to or a couple hours with your attorney or even just the will, just so something goes on with it. Again, we're just here to make sure that these items don't disappear. So just take it from our life experience that this is something that can happen. So, all right. Anything else, guys? Anything else you want to say? Did we miss anything, or what are you guys thinking? No? Okay. So if you go back to Caliber Corner episode number 138, I got a lot more technical with the terminology of what the gun trust was and what happens and how to think about it. Essentially, you've got the settlor, S-E-T-T-L-O-R, settler, who's the creator of the trust. You've got the trustees who are going to be the recipients of that property or the people that have access to that property based off of your terms. And then you've got the co-trustees, which are people that have permission to use those items with the permission of the trustees. So the co-trustees could be the children of the trustees or the grandchildren. It's just the more people you put on there, the better. So that way everybody has access to it and nobody can fight over it. And you get to dictate the final terms of those firearms when you're gone. So that's the key right there. So, All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and finish it up. Oh, SS Pond says we have a family firearms trust. There you go. So, I mean, just get one done, you know. Hillbilly Up says, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even know a lawyer. My opinions don't even make sense most of the time. Thank God we have online forms we can fill out for $49.99. So, all right. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and go ahead and let it go. Eduardo Espinosa says, preach, Travis P11, preach. And I know preacher. All right, so Squibload, we're going to drop this one on you. Anything final you want to say before we go ahead and call it for today?
Yeah, you're a bad influence on me.
You're now looking at $49 gun trust. Oh, God, get the debit card. I'm always a bad influence.
No, I took it a step further.
Uh-oh.
So we were talking about 308 battle rifles 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
And
you didn't. You did.
Yes.
No, you
yes.
did.
We love
You're
spending
thinking
each other's
about it.
money.
It's sitting in your shopping cart talking to you right now.
It is sitting in the shopping cart. You called on me first, so I didn't check out yet, but I'm working on it. No, not the rifle. I'm starting small. I'm finally going to get the bayonet for that BM59 that I've been wanting for a long time. So that and but I did order 2 guns while you were talking, but they weren't battle rifles. So
okay,
what were
you
they?
know, every
What were
journey
they?
to a gun acquisition starts with a bayonet. So
yeah. So
or
you
a
get the bayonet,
Foos.
you get the magazine, right, Foos?
Yeah.
And then you have to get the gun.
And so here's the thing: those of you that have significant others, you're like, "But baby, I already bought mags for it. I got to buy the gun now. I've done that once." And she's like, "Oh, you got a good point," because she doesn't know what mags actually cost. You know.
So what about this? I've gone to a gun show, picked up ammo, and went,
yes,
I now need a gun for it. I bought 1 box of ammo. And I'm like, I need a gun for this now.
Before I bought my Max 380, I bought a box of Federal Punch and the box of Blazer 2 weeks before I even bought the gun because I knew I had coupons coming in the mail and I had a gift card coming in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the ammo and I just said, "Oh, do you need a gun to go with it?" "Nope, I'm going to buy it in 2 weeks." You know, so yeah, I've done that before. I bought ammo for guns I don't even own, either to give to Squib when he comes to visit or to just have around in case, you know, that happenstance I happen to buy a 40 Smith & Wesson something or a 10 millimeter another.
So another reason I need to own this Glock is because I have 9mm for it.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
You need every 9mm under the plant because you have ammo for it.
So Squibload made a guest appearance in Nebraska. Squib, are you listening? My wife had a Squibload and a Canic pistol last weekend. Hornady ammo. Really? I mean, that's a 1 in a million possibility. Unless I don't know.
Because Hornady ammo is pretty good stuff. So
generally, I know they had some problems with their 5.56 line that they created. Initially, there was some issues with it, but they were also, I think, using the secondary supplier, or it was loaded for somebody. It was loaded by somebody else using horny brass and projectiles. It was like their Freedom line or something. They've got it all figured out, but the initial manufacturer cycle of it was really bad. But I've never had a problem with their ammo at all, ever. Never had a light primer strike. Never had it not go off. I buy tons of critical defense. It's always run through every time I put a mag through it. So anyway, so Squid, back to you. So you're thinking about getting that BM rifle.
Eventually, but I mean, you know, start small or whatever. I don't know. No, I like bayonets too, even if I don't have the rifle for it. Although I do try to go one way or the other. I either get the bayonet and then get the rifle, or I get the rifle and I get a sling, get the bayonet. Yeah,
get a Milsurp sling for it, and then it's like, God, I got to get the rifle to go with this stuff and get some mags.
That BM rifle, is that the 308 M1 Grand?
Yeah, the Italian one, the one made by Breda.
Okay. Is it an M14 or M1 Grand? What's it's the Breda manufacturer?
It doesn't use
M1 Garand? Yeah.
No, it's a MagFed, M1 in 308. Or it's MagFed in 30.6. No, it's MagFed in 30.6.
Oh.
My mistake there. Yeah.
What's magazine availability on those? Is there any aftermarket support at all?
Here, let's
maybe
see.
check CS check CSSpecs.com. They might make a mag for it. They make the 308 mags for those.
2 BM59 magazines, new old stock, out of stock. Crap. $120 for 2, so $60 each.
Well, it's
par
for the course for antique rifles or limited production or limited availability. Yeah, I was paying $45 for my Zastava M77 mags 5 years ago, when they went into, because they're a new manufacturer that just made for that gun new. So yeah.
So that's another thing of, if you're going to be getting a firearm, and you're just waiting for that, but you see the mags for it, and the mags are harder to get them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and see the problem, like I bought my PDP, Walther PDP, and I couldn't get mags for it for 6 months. I literally waited 6 months, checking almost daily on gun.deals. I type in PDP magazines, nothing. And I mean, I could possibly have used like some other Walther mags with it, but they're the 18 or 20 rounders, so they're sort of proprietary to that particular full-size frame. I think something else might have worked, but nothing else was available. Even those other ones were not available. So yeah, Hillbilly Up, what's up, man? What do you want to say?
Yeah, I was asking a question here. Maybe people could help me out some.
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of questions on my YouTube channels. Stuff sometimes people ask, when do you know your mag is starting to go bad, and when to replace it? And, and it's kind of a fine line for me, I mean, my father, he basically would use it till it just wouldn't feed anymore, but I always try to keep extras, while they're available.
Yeah.
So does anybody have a rule of
minimum?
Yeah. Okay. So
Bruce wears them out on a regular basis, so he can.
No, I don't. Oh, I have never worn out a magazine.
Sorry.
I
You're
have
the mag
over
master
100
for competition, so
So I have.
out. Yeah.
I have some limited mags, 40 cal limited mags, fit 20, 21. Some of my practice mags will actually fit 22 rounds in it, and it feeds just fine. I've had zero issues. I've had over 100,000 rounds through practice or through a practice gun, and I'm still using those mags, same spring, same followers. Like there are some people, if you get into the really long mags, those will wear out just because you need more spring tension. But in a factory mag, a person can almost not put enough rounds to the gun to wear that out.
A problem people run into that I've seen a couple times is if they take their mags apart and clean them, they put them in backwards or upside down, and that's going to screw up the tension. Now, the thing to understand about the mags, the way that I understand it, Fush, you can correct me on this, the magazine is designed to be compressed. That's not going to wear the spring out. So if you have loaded mags that are sitting around for 10 years,
that's fine.
It's fine. It's the expansion and contraction that wears out the tensile ability of the spring itself to that's what causes the wear and tear. So if you got a mag that gets used a lot and that spring steel is not the highest quality, you could get some very soft, I'd say failure to feed issues, failure to extract. Think
about this. Most people will say every 5,000 rounds, swap out 5 or 10,000, whatever, swap out your recoil spring. Some people say that, some people go a lot longer.
Recoil spring or magazine spring?
Recoil. Hold on. I'm going to be getting to magazine spring.
Oh,
recoil
okay. That's a good point too. Recoil springs. Yeah. It's the other one too. Yeah.
Recoil springs, that. So that means if you want to use that at, let's say 10,000, that means you have to load and shoot your magazine 10,000 times before you would swap that out. So you start thinking about that. Okay, if you load one magazine 10,000 times and shoot through it, what is that, 170,000 rounds through that one magazine? And you have 3, 5, 8 mags?
It depends on the manufacturer, though, because it could be a mag that they use just to cheap spring steel in it versus like Glock versus like Jimenez, right? Or High Point or something,
right.
But it depends on the manufacturer, but you can always,
I'm just using that for a comparison. A quality made firearm, 5,000, 10,000 times, people swap out recoil springs or, once a year, whatever. It depends on, your mileage of your firearm. You do that and look at your magazines. It's the same, if not more. I mean, I would run it until you start have feeding issues and then chunk the entire mag. Unless it's a mag that is hard to get.
Problem is, every manufacturer is going to be different. They all use different spring. They're also, unless you happen to buy like a Mechar and they get their spring sourced from the same steel, and they're whatever. I mean, it depends on the manufacturer. But I would say once you start having some feeding issues, and you replace the recoil spring and it's still having issues, that's probably a pretty good time to get rid of that mag. Or not rid of the mag, just replace the spring if you can.
All right, thank you. Sounds like some great answers there. Appreciate it, fellas.
There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
I literally have magazines that I've used for 8 years of hard use. Perfectly fine. I still use them today.
There you go. Just to end the polls, guys, 63% of you don't have plans to pass on your firearms. 36% of you do. So let's get our crap together and let's get this taken care of, guys. All right. Moving on. Squibbler, we'll move on to you. Go ahead.
All right. So while you guys were talking, thanks for buying me some time. I got the bayonet ordered, and I got some Carcano clips coming with it. Not magazines, clips. There's a difference.
In blocks.
But
they're not called clips. Yeah, they are called clips.
Yeah, they are clips because they're clips. They fall out of the magazine when they're empty. But I did find the BM59 mag for $50, so I'm going to order that right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and throw that in the cart. And then the other bad influence you had was with those micro compacts. I ordered a micro compact while you were talking during the show.
Really? So, oh my
god. Yeah.
Wait, which micro compact?
We'll wait. We'll make it a surprise.
I'll have to do an unboxing. I don't even know if I'm going to make
video,
a video.
So that's right. Do the unboxing video and do the cleaning video. And if you don't want to clean it, just send it to me. Oh crap. Kevin June says, "What brand of mags are you using that lasts that long?"
CZs, Glocks. I mean, they're fine. I've known people, because of the competition world, that, oh my god, horrible treatment of mags. And they just keep running. They just keep going.
They're JB welded together. They got duct tape on the bottom of them. That's how they extract them. They got a little duct tape strip coming off the bottom of like a cheap Magpul loop made out of duct tape. Yeah, man.
Yeah, they just, mag springs normally will not wear out.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
Like, if you're really, 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 really concerned about it, whenever you swap out recoil spring, swap out mag springs on the ones you practice with. But honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it until you, like, if you have a mag that keeps on messing up at the range, isolate that mag, use the rest, and then go back and be like, okay, what's wrong with this mag?
Take it apart, clean it, put it back together.
Most time it's feed lips. Your feed lips have spread or something like that. Now, if it's getting a nose down, then that is spring. But
okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call it. We might have already started this before. I don't remember. American Hillbilly Up, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Anything you want to say before we go today? Any final words? Any final plugs for your channel? Anything you want to get out there?
Well, I appreciate it, Travis. I thank you for being on here. Let me be on here and everything. I've sure enjoyed it, and and received a lot of knowledge today. And I'm definitely going to set up a gun trust. I mean, it's just something that I feel that it'd be the right thing to do. So there's no problems. If something would happen to me or my wife and stuff. So now we're just working on videos. Just trying to think of some new and exciting ways for our viewers, to enjoy, getting to watch some guns being shot and maybe learn a little safety tips and gun tips here and there. So, we invite y'all to come over to the Hillbilly Up and, watch some of our content. And if anybody if they have their own YouTube channel and like to send a link or, something like that, I'd be more than happy to, watch it and enjoy it. I'm sure there's a lot of great content out there that we all miss just because the YouTube guides don't put it up there for people to find. So
I'm always finding new channels that have like a whole other community of followers. It's like, how have I not found this channel before? It's some channel with like 500,000 or 600,000 subs. And I find out that half of my friends that I follow here are over there also. And I didn't know about it till now, just like with your channel. didn't discover until I was doing the video, looking up videos on the High Point carbine, So, yeah, no, that's cool, man. Appreciate you being here. I can't wait for you to get your own podcast up and running. Call it the Hills, the Hillbilly Podcast from the Hills or something. The Hillcast.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right.
Well, thanks a lot, and everybody have a great morning, rest of the day.
And you're in southern Missouri, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. Ozark Mountains here in southwest Missouri, surrounded by a beautiful Table Rock Lake and all that. So it's some great place. And, we're close to Branson, Missouri. And so, if people's looking for a great vacation, for a family or, it don't necessarily have to be a family vacation. There's lots of stuff to do down here and, and it's really pretty. And so
it is. Missouri is a beautiful state. I mean, you guys have more trees, I think, per square mile than any other state I've ever been to. Well, it seems like Missouri, Kentucky, as you go down into the southeastern part of the U.S. I love Colorado, but my God, it's just beautiful in the southeastern part of the country. Every 100 yards, it looks like the cover of a Cabela's catalog. There's a truck with a cabin with a creek behind it and some smoke's coming out of the fireplace, and it's all misty and hazy. It's like, I want that. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to retire into, I think. I'm going to go move in next to some of you guys. Foos, I'm going to move in next door, so. Yeah.
But further south is more Cabela's. Up here is
that's your more rustic. Yeah, that's true. There you go. Bass Pro versus Cabela's. And then the suburbs are the Shields customers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because they travel the Shields to go shop. So
anyway, I have buddies that'll travel 45 minutes to go to Shields to pick up primers.
Oh my God! Oh, I've done that before. I can't talk. So, all right. So Foos, we'll move over to you now. Why don't you go and give us your final plug and anything you want to say before we go?
Nah, just continue to shoot.
Get out there, do some shooting, have fun.
And if you have a bunch of friends, there's always a competition on who you can spend or which friend's money can you spend the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've spent some of Travis's money. He spent some of mine.
Mm-hmm. Now, Squib over here, there's this song that's called "What Everybody's Working for the Weekends." Is that right? Who sang that? Was that Billy Squire? Well, with Squib, it's Squibby's working on the weekends, and so that's the thing. He has to work on the weekends to buy all these toys. So.
Yes, I will be going in at 7:00 tomorrow night. I should say 1900 hours tomorrow to go open the plant. When you open the plant, there's usually some sort of issue. Something is fried or broken, or the floor is flooded, or you don't know what you're going to find when you go in there. I don't normally open the plant, but I have an opportunity to make some more money. I would much rather spend my Sunday evening at home, but I got to pay back this credit card for, I bought the magazine. So 2 guns, a magazine, and a bayonet, and some Carcano clips. Thanks, God. Travis.
Thanks. Well, look, hey man, Taurus
the Travi Collective have that mind trick.
Travi mind tricks.
The Carcano clips.
Mind clips.
So. Are they original or are they the new manufacturer?
They're brass, so I'm going to guess they're original.
Original, okay.
Yeah.
You may have to work with them on the feed lips and stuff. They may not drop.
Bend them a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I have some of those, and they don't drop free whenever the last round is chambered. But if I push a new one, it drops.
I've got brass and steel. I haven't had any issues just messing around. Not really taking it to the range and firing it, but I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate you letting me know because I mean, they're more for collecting, but I'd like them to be functional.
Yeah. And all mine are functional. It just doesn't, how, you chamber the last round, the thing falls out.
They're Italian. They're not manufactured to precise specifications. They can't even manufacture Ferraris without panel gap inconsistencies in their cars. I highly doubt they could get their Carcano clips correct too. So just saying. All right, and Squib, we'll come back to you for a third time. Anything you want to say before we go? Because you keep telling me that you're buying stuff. Come back to me in a minute. I got some stuff on my cart. I got to check out with PSA. You're panic buying Milser.
The longer you guys talk, the more money I spend. Can we just end the?
Yeah, we're gonna stop. Was it the pocket carry discussion we had that made you want to go buy a micro compact gun? This pocket carry convenience?
Yeah.
It's a problem with me now. It's like, I better not forget I got this thing in my pocket. Guys, I bought an LCP Max 380, and I've been pocket carrying it for the last 3 or 4 days to places I can legally carry. and I forget it's there. It literally feels like my phone's in my front pocket. It weighs 13 ounces loaded, 13.3 ounces loaded.
Jeez.
10+1. And it comes with the pocket holster. You guys want to see it. I did a cleaning video on it, and I got a range test coming out next week on it. So it's so light, and it fits the hand well, and it shoots good, and it's like nothing. Like for me, I'm not going to lie. I bought it to walk the dog. When I got gym shorts on or basketball shorts and I got a t-shirt on, I just want something I can throw in my pocket with my carry permit and just go walk the dog. Because I go at stupid times. I'll walk the dog at 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning when it's dark out. I want something, And a lot of guys, it might be their philosophy. Well, you holster up and you take your proper carry gun. Okay, that's cool. When I'm going out for 10 minutes, it's going to take me longer to suit up than it is to just take this LCP Max and just throw in my pocket and go. So it literally, I don't even know. As long as you've got a pants on with a belt or you've got a tight drawstring, you can't even tell you have it. It literally feels like your cell phone. So yeah, it's 11 ounces dry, if I'm not mistaken, 13.3 with 10+1. So yeah. Anyway, Squib, back to you. God, we'll get this done at some point. Anything else, Squib? Anything you want to say about Gun Trust? Gun Trust will.
What'd you say? I was looking at another website at BM59 parts. Yeah. No, I think it's good to have that information out there to make an informed decision. You're going to end up doing what you're going to end up doing. Everybody kind of does things for different reasons, and that's fine. Our differences are not a weakness. They can be used against us as a division, but I look at our differences as a strength. From time to time, we're going to butt heads, or we're going to disagree, or we're going to say that's a stupid idea or whatever. But the thing is, the diversity in the Second Amendment culture is, in my opinion, really a strength, because they can come at us the same way with the same playbook and the same strategy every time if we're all the same. But if we're all independent and we're all different, we've always got them guessing. So, get a will, get a gun trust, don't write something on a piece of paper, don't do whatever you're going to do. But I think having the information is more important than what the decision is, because each decision is an individual decision. Now, when your decision affects the rest of the culture, when you make a bad judgment call, or you blatantly do something that could affect the rest of us, I will not support you. But for other things where it's just an individual thing, hey man, do what you want. I'm going to tell you what I think. I don't care what you do with my opinion.
And that BM59, it is a mag-fed M1 Garand made for 308.
You know what? You're right, because on this it says BM59 E original barrel 7.62 by 51 caliber. And just as you were saying that came up here on this parts kit. So that would be my 308 battle rifle. So yeah,
there you go. There you go. That'd be a nice one.
All right. So, okay, you got to do a poll next show, maybe on Thursday. I don't know. Something. All right. So for my next, don't call me Mrs. Squiblo likes to buy me guns for my birthday. So the next birthday I have, BM59 or 50 AE Desert Eagle.
Ooh, there you go.
There's the next poll.
That's BM because you already have stuff for it.
The thing about the Deagle,
but what if I buy a Desert Eagle mag between now and then? I mean, there's a long time here.
I shot SS Pawn Stan's 44 mag Desert Eagle, and you can watch my cleaning video on it, Squib, if you want to, because it works for the 50 also. So there you go. I've got a cleaning video for the 44 mag Desert Eagle.
Now what's fun is
they're cool. They're free. You just hold that thing. You're like, I didn't want to give it back to him. This thing, I thought this thing is just freaking sweet. It was so much fun to shoot. Yeah.
Back in Arkansas, a buddy of mine, he had 2 of them. So I kimboed 50 AEs going on steel.
$2. Oh,
no.
Every time you pull the trigger.
He reloaded his own.
Okay. Gotcha.
It was more like 50 cents a piece. But yeah. I would go, I line each one up with an eye on steel. And I just went bang at the same time and hit both steel with 50 AE at about 15 yards. I was like, woo, that's fun.
It is cool, man. It smacks it. Hey, Hillbilly Up, are you doing some gun shopping right now or what? We're a bad influence on people, man. We're a really,
I was just
really
telling
bad
you
influence.
guys, remember our phones and stuff's listening. So the more stuff you guys name off, the more advertisement we're going to
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I get coffee and gun ads and pickup truck ads.
It'll be on our phone. We can look it up and buy it.
It's bad. Like Foos just happens to mention that he wants to sell his Setney C308. I'm like, oh, I'll buy it from you. Not even thinking about it, It's like, I'll buy it from you.
And then it was done.
All right. So I'm on Gun Mag Warehouse. I hope you guys are happy. They don't have
it in to go.
They don't have it in stainless though. 7-round 50 AE mag, $50.
Big Boys Club, homie. You got to pay to play, Bubba.
Yeah, they have it in stainless though. All right, I got to go look for one in the stainless finish. I'm gonna look around.
Oh my God. Hey, check eBay because eBay does 10 round mags or less. I don't know if they've got a magazine capacity or a magazine or a caliber limit, but anything that's 10 rounds or less on eBay, they usually sell mags for it. That's where I bought the second mag for my LCP Max. So, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it. We're just starting to venture off into it's getting expensive. It's getting expensive. We got to stop and let people enjoy people need money for food and gas. We got to quit doing this. So, anyway,
gas
you guys
is cheaper, so spend that extra money.
Well, of course it is. We're getting close to midterms. It'll be back down to pre-pandemic levels by October. So why wouldn't it?
Like,
you know,
people are like, "Oh, gas coming down. The government's doing this thing." I'm like, no, the government's sending us into a recession. We have less demand for it because
people can't afford to buy it. People are losing their cars, and so there's less cars running. And
satin nickel, $80. Dang.
Yeah. Wait till you find the platinum one for $400. It has a USB port on it, can charge your phone and everything.
Squib,
so, yeah.
That's why we have jobs. We make more money.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's why Squibby's working for the weekends. So working on the weekends, right?
9 to 5.
So R4 Mississippi Thunder, I just want to comment on this real quick. Says I took a quick look at the LCP Max a couple weeks ago at Rock House, my local gun store. I really like the new sights. Yeah, they're $349. You've got dovetailed front and rear sights, and your front sight's tritium, and has a ring around it for daylight use. So I mean, to me, it was worth the $100 more than the LCP2. It's a little bit bigger form factor. I think it weighs the same, somehow dry as an LCP2. The Max does. It's a very lightweight frame. It does have metal tracks that your slide rides on. Trigger is fine. It reminds me of the EC9S or the LCP2. It's fairly soft, has a good defined wall. Recoil is very minimal. I mean, it's the perfect pocket carry. You might philosophically be opposed to pocket carry at 380, but it's better than nothing. So that's what I do. All right. Okay, guys, we'll go and let you go. This has been Caliber Corner Season 5, episode number 242. Join us next week when episode 243 will be about the 243. We haven't had a caliber discussion on the 243 for a very long time. And Thursday is probably going to be my last weekly episode for a couple weeks, just to let you know. Work is going to be starting back up, and I can't guarantee I'm going to have the evenings free. So we'll have some sort of discussion on Thursday. Not sure what yet. I usually decide that on Tuesday or Wednesday, so just be watching for the episode to post on your feeds. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Squibload and Foose and Hillbilly Up. And a lot of great content for you guys to enjoy. So let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here before we go. All right, so joining us today was Hillbilly Up over there and over here. Kevin June, R4 Mississippi Thunder, in the house, hunting stuff with J&J. Patriot in the Dark, Eduardo Espinoza, Two Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw, X Adam 1, Keith Gregory, Red Dog's out there. Let's see who else was joining us here. Eduardo Espinosa, Ozzy Orsborn, SS Pond. Tacos and French Fries was out there too. Weston Probst, Armor Rebellion 47, Yoder, Texas, Patriot in the Dark. Good conversations going on. Timothy Harper out there. He said the ATF confiscated my AR pistol because it has an SBA-3 brace and a binary trigger and classified it as a short barrel rifle and a machine gun. So did they apply their point system to your AR pistol when it was confiscated? Interesting. That might be something worth having a discussion on. Mountain View joined us today also. A lot of good people joined us. Everybody watching this, do me a favor. If you guys know the YouTuber or the YouTube person that watches our video that goes by the name of Colostomy Bag, let him know I gave him a shout out for a super chat that I missed last week. I want him to know that. Maybe he'll show up on Thursday night. I hope I didn't scare him away. He's been watching my videos for years. It didn't register with me that there was a super chat because it doesn't show up the same way on StreamYard as it does on YouTube. So I just totally missed it. Gizzard Gary out there also. Make sure you guys check out Gizzard Gary's channel. Good stuff. Squib Live, Squib Load, Squib in the house. Zingers out there too. And Kingpin. So thanks for watching, guys. I want you to take care, have fun, be safe, mash that bell, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, guys.